What's going on, everybody? We are looking at another rally day for the crypto miners and Bitcoin. Bitcoin just hit a new 52-week high right around $52,000. We're going to talk about Bitcoin on the chart and what I'm expecting. We're also going to talk about a couple of the Bitcoin miners that I'm watching right now. And we're going to get into some pretty big news. BlackRock's ETF is now over 100,000 in Bitcoin held. And also, analysts rethink their estimates as the Bitcoin spot ETFs continue to see inflows. But we'll talk about all this, and I will link everything down below for you that I go over. If you guys get something useful out of this, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Check out the links down below for some free stocks and cryptos. And if you feel like joining my membership to show your support, it's only $2 a month. First off, let's go over this BlackRock news. BlackRock now holds over 100,000 Bitcoin in management. And spot Bitcoin ETFs have seen a combined daily inflow breaking another record at $631 million. But BlackRock's ETF now has 105,280 Bitcoin, and this was as of February 13. And I'll leave this up for you guys on the screen to check out, but you can see the Bitcoin ETF flows here. And you'll notice something here. IBIT, BlackRock's ETF, just continues to see inflows, and more than what we've seen recently. Whereas you'll see GBTC has actually been seeing less outflows. And this is sort of a rumor floating around, but according to some, BlackRock might have been struggling to match the demand from the massive inflows into the spot Bitcoin ETF. OTC sellers of BlackRock ran out of coins. BlackRock literally had to buy Bitcoin from Coinbase. And I want to also show you this right here. Analysts rip up old estimates after BlackRock leads $3 billion in the Bitcoin ETF inflows. However, I didn't see what the analysts expect now in this article, so it seems like they're ripping up their old estimates but not giving new estimates just yet. But spot Bitcoin ETFs are on course to beat annual estimates. And these 10 US-based spot ETFs have doubled their net inflows to $3 billion in 3 days, with more than $500 million added on Tuesday alone. And just look at how quickly the money is flowing into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. And even accounting for the $6.5 billion exiting GBTC, we have still seen net inflows of $3.1 billion in a little over a month of trading. And we also have something else interesting. We have another spot Bitcoin ETF that has over $1 billion in assets now, and that's ARKS, ARKB. We also have Bitwise getting very close to their first billion as well. But just look at this. Fidelity, almost $4 billion in assets. BlackRock, over $5 billion now. And these GBTC outflows continue to dry up. It went from around 600 million mid-January to under 100 million February 13th, as I showed you guys. And soon maybe we'll see some inflow into GBTC once the selling has subsided. Next, I do want to talk about Bitcoin. We have definitely been running. There's probably some people looking for some lower prices. There's probably people a little worried here. And that's understandable, seeing that we're overbought on the weekly, overbought on the daily, and overbought or very, very close from the 4-hour to the 1-hour candles. However, going to the monthly, we have seen a much more overbought RSI in terms of the monthly. So while you definitely want to be cautious here, you definitely want to be careful, we have definitely ran up quite a bit and really haven't cooled down all that much. That said, I'm extremely bullish for Bitcoin throughout 2024 into 2025, and even the 50,000s will be seen as some good prices to add when we look back from the end of 2024 or from the middle of 2025, for example. That said, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little cool down first. I would say keep an eye on this ascending trend line here. If we break this, we might head lower and potentially head down all the way to 45,000 to see how it holds up as a support. That said, if you really believe in Bitcoin, if you feel like you don't have a sufficient built out position yet, I'd say don't be scared to DCA. Don't be too patient looking for, outrageously low prices, looking for 30,000, for example. I think it's extremely unlikely at this point that we're going to see 30,000s again, even the high 30s for that matter. But at times like this, you do sometimes want to step back a second, let things cool down a bit, because there will be volatility. There will be these huge run-ups, and there will also be pullbacks. There will be some retracements. And while I do expect Bitcoin to do extremely well throughout the rest of this year, that doesn't mean we're just going to go straight up, and straight up. So yes, we could keep running from here, become a little more overbought, but I would just tread carefully in this area, at least looking at the short term. Next, I want to talk about CleanSpark, and I did mention if we break 1650, we're going to head higher. If we break 1550, we're heading lower. And this tightening pattern here basically gave me those levels to watch out for. And I mentioned this in my Discord yesterday, but keep in mind, not all patterns will play out 100%. But usually the odds are in your favor. Now, one thing I'm watching for with CleanSpark is, personally, I do expect us to head back towards 1650. And while you couldn't see it on the shorter time frames, we do have a gap to fill. And we would fill that if we head towards 1650. Now, one thing that concerns me as well is we do have another gap down here from roughly 12 to around 10. However, this is a breakaway gap. This is a gap up on really good earnings, on high volume. These gaps don't fill as often as a common gap, but there is always that possibility, so anticipate the possibility of it happening. Although at this point right now, I find it sort of unlikely. Now, if you're wondering about getting into CleanSpark, you don't have a built out position, I do believe this is the top miner. This is the first miner to post a profit this halving cycle. I expect them to post one more profit before going back to unprofitability after mining rewards get cut, then to regain profitability probably towards late 2024. And while I think just like with Bitcoin, when you look back from 2024, mid 2025, the 16s, 17s, even 20 will be seen as cheap. That said, it's up to you whether you want to buy in now or try to be patient and look for a little pullback. It really depends on how hasty you're feeling about building your position. I would personally say look for a dip from the 13 to 16 level, but if you're really worried about missing out, if you think it won't work out and we're not going to dip, I do think CleanSpark is a solid DCA. I wouldn't personally go heavy in here. I would work on slowly building out a position over the next 3 to 6 months potentially, perhaps even selling some puts. Now looking at Sphere 3D, there's another one I've been adding to. It's a very small market cap. They are expecting a record quarter for revenue. However, probably quite a while, if at all, that they'll see profitability. And for me, this is more of just a swing on the halving cycle. Whereas I'll always hold at least a small position of CleanSpark for multiple years. For Sphere 3D, I would sell entirely through 2024 and early 2025, mid 2025. But Sphere 3D, it looks like we recently broke out of this descending resistance, and keep an eye on this yellow line as an ascending support. If we break it, we are probably heading down towards 160 area. But so far it's holding this as a support, and also look for this as a resistance, this roughly 260 to 270 area. If we can break 260 to 270, I do think we're heading towards the 330 area, at least towards 3, to fill in this sort of a fair value gap where there was an imbalance in price. So on a break at 270, look for 3. But to me, Sphere 3D is looking great. This stock flashed a golden cross back in early February. And believe it or not, this is actually its first golden cross this cycle. There were many other stocks out there that have flashed golden crosses, gone back to death cross, etc. But for Sphere 3D, this is the first golden cross. I do think great things are yet to come for this company. Like I said, it's an extremely small market cap. It doesn't take much for this to see a 30% update. We've seen it not that long ago in the past, and I really do expect we'll see it again for Sphere 3D. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Let me know what miners you're picking up right now. Are you holding off on them a bit? But this is a very exciting time for Bitcoin. We just continue to see these inflows into these spot Bitcoin ETFs, and we will see Bitcoin's price continue to steadily rise. I will continue to say Bitcoin is definitely a buy the dip opportunity, any dip you want to add to. But let me know your strategy for Bitcoin and the miners. Thanks as always, guys, and I'll see you next time.